This video is sponsored by Tobii. I've spent years and probably way more money than I want to admit getting this flight sim set up just right. I've got the yoke, the throttle quadrant, the rudder pedals, and even a force feedback joystick. I really thought it was done. I thought this was close as you can get to the real thing without strapping on a VR headset. But one simple thing, just looking around the cockpit always felt, well, like this. It's clunky, and it just rips you out of the moment. Every single time you have to let go of the controls to pan the camera, the whole illusion just shatters. It's the one thing that constantly reminds me I'm just a guy sitting at a desk spending far too much time and money in flight sim. That is, until I tried this. This is the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. It's this tiny little bar that sticks to your monitor, and for the last few months, it has totally changed how I play not just flight sim, but pretty much any game, including just using my computer. And after a few months of use, I can honestly tell you, this is truly a game changer. For the longest time, my sim life was always about finding workarounds for looking around. I had camera views mapped to my yoke, I've had hat switches for panning, and of course the good old mouse look. But it was always a trade-off. When you're in a critical moment like turning onto final, the absolute last thing you want to do is take your hands off the controls to move the camera just so you can see where the runway is. Not only is it annoying, but it feels fundamentally wrong and breaks that immersion that we're all chasing. So when I got the chance to try out the Tobii Eye Tracker 5, I was a bit skeptical, but definitely curious. Head tracking's not exactly something that's new to me. Many years ago, I had the Track IR, but unfortunately the trade-offs were pretty significant with Track IR. Either you had to wear a cap and put these clips on it, or you'd have to put this big bulky thing on your headset so it could track your head. So when I was told it's literally as simple as clipping this on your monitor and plugging it in, and it would do everything and more that Track IR did, it was a no-brainer for me. So of course, the first thing I did was download Tobii Experience. You open it up, run the calibration, which is literally just looking at a couple of dots on the screen so it can track your pupils. That's how it calibrates. Compared to Track IR, that's already a massive jump for me. Not only that, but it adds a bunch of useful features right into Windows, like Windows Hello, which is just a super easy way of logging into your computer simply by looking at it. The entire process from opening the box to ready to fly took literally less than 5 minutes. I was honestly shocked at how simple it was, and I was bracing for a fight, for driver issues or for hours of pulling my hair out to really nail down the settings. But honestly, for the first time in my life, I plugged it in and it just worked. The Tobii came straight to life. Without even thinking about it, I just looked. I glanced over at the empty passenger seat and the camera followed. Then as I go closer to look at the GPS, so did the camera. It's a really hard feeling to describe. It's not like using a mouse or joystick. There's no continuous input. It really feels like kind of wearing a VR headset without having to wear a VR headset. And I think that's the thing that shocked me, because in the flight simulator community, we're used to making big compromises to get that bit extra of immersion. The fact that you don't have to have any trackers on your head for this to see where you're looking is just mind-blowing. It's probably the first and only piece of hardware that I can say I own where I don't have to make any compromises. Other than compromising a USB port for it to plug into, there's literally nothing. So for the next few hours, I kind of spent more time than I'd like to admit trying all kinds of different aircraft to see which one would benefit the most from this. And no surprise, they all did. But one of the biggest jumps that I didn't even realise at the time was flying a helicopter. You see, lately I've had a huge fixation on helicopters, and annoyingly the only way I could really enjoy it is by doing it in VR. And while I love doing it in VR, there's a big setup to it. It takes up a lot of room, it just takes a lot longer to get ready. Without having a VR headset on, I was looking down at where the skids were, I could easily see everything, I wasn't colliding with anything, and that's when it really hit me. It made flight sim more easy, more immersive, and just more enjoyable overall. But you know me, I don't like leaving things at bog stock standard. I really like to tweak it and push it to its absolute max. So Out of the box, the experience is great. But if you want to make it even better, we've got to look at a few settings. Microsoft Flight Simulator has native support for Tobii, which is awesome because it means all the important tweaks are right in the game's control menu. But if that's not your style, don't stress because there's also support for OpenTrack. I won't go over that today, but it basically gives you control curves over how you're looking. So you can have different kind of responsiveness on whether you look right and left. It just gives you far much more control. Getting these settings dialed in honestly didn't take that long. It took a little bit of trial and error, just trying different aircrafts and trying to match it to my monitor, but it only took me maybe 10 minutes, if that. And I know before I got the chance to try this out, one of my biggest concerns was I wear glasses. I can't see without them. So I was quite concerned that the reflection of the emitters would not track my eyes. But thankfully, I'm here to tell you that's not the case at all. It actually works perfectly with glasses, and there's no need to recalibrate or anything like that if you put glasses on. It just works as soon as you put them on. But it's not just for Flight Sim, it works with over 100 different games from Truck Simulator to big titles like Assassin's Creed and Star Citizen. And right now, Tobii is giving you guys 20% off to get a Tobii Eye Tracker today and a chance to win one in a sweepstake. All you gotta do is check out the link down below in the description to get started. As a content creator, the biggest surprise was how amazing it is as a cinematic tool. Since I've owned this, it's been my secret tool in recording cinematic shots in Flight Simulator, especially in 2024. We've got Chase Plane in 2020, which makes it really versatile for controllers and the Tobii, but in 2024, we've just got the default in-camera system, and it kinda lacks. But with the Tobii, it really allows you to take that camera and transform it. And other than Chase Plane, that's probably one of my biggest secrets to recording cinematics. So my best quick tip is make sure you've got a nice controller so you can actually move around for big movements, but then for those big cinematic reveals or nice long shots or close-up pans, the Tobii is just unbelievably good. You'll need to change those settings a little bit and turn down the sensitivity, but it really goes that extra mile to getting those perfect shots. So after a few months, what's the final call? The biggest problem this device solves is the constant immersion killing hassle of having to manage your camera with a mouse or a hat switch. It removes a layer of clunkiness and connects you directly into a world inside the game. And in a sense, it can kind of give you that VR experience of being able to actually physically look around without having to have a headset on. And let me tell you, the immersion is off the charts. That feeling of freely looking around the cockpit and out the window with your hands planted on the controls is something you really have to feel to understand. It boosts your situational awareness, especially in VFR flying, and makes managing complicated cockpits just a bit more natural. Normally I go on to the downsides, and there honestly really isn't much, but if I had to really think hard, I guess you could say there's a slight learning curve to kind of stop your head's natural movements from twitching the camera. For once, it really feels like we've got a product where they've engineered it perfectly. Even if you've got a curved monitor, you can use this. For me though, the pros completely outweigh any of those little quirks. I came into this a bit of a skeptic. I was thinking my setup was already as good as it's gonna get, but the Tobii Eye Tracker has fundamentally leveled up my entire gaming experience. Not just Flight Sim, but even like DayZ and all those other games. So who is this for? If you're a serious gamer who craves immersion, but not ready to dive in VR, I'd say this is a non-negotiable upgrade. It supports a ton of games across all genres, and if you're a VFR pilot who loves looking out the windows, or a helicopter pilot who needs that precision visual control, it's genuinely a game changer. But as always guys, I can't thank you enough for watching the video. Make sure you hit that like button, get subscribed, drop a comment down below, and a huge thanks again for Tobii for sponsoring this video. But until next time, I'll catch you then.